minutes. We'll also have former Mountaineer great, now ESPN analyst Anthony Becht joining us at the bottom of the hour. And Greg, always one of our favorite guests. Anthony's has always been excellent, but just super perspective, pays attention to college football because he now follows it. He does a game each week, and he has some bowl games. He's on, I think if I'm not mistaken, he has 4 bowl games coming up that he's going to call. So we will get the lowdown from Anthony at the bottom of the hour, and hopefully here in a few minutes we're trying to hook up with our own Alan Taylor, who's in New York City for the West Virginia basketball game, which tips off here in a little less than an hour. Tough to get cell phones there in the city, Greg. Couple cell phones there floating around in New York City. We might have some traffic issues.
You would think they could be able to take care of that, though. I mean, it's not like it's, Granville.
You're in the garden. You got all kinds of stuff. So we'll see. We'll have, hopefully, if we can find Alan, we'll have him here in just a few minutes. A couple news and notes from earlier today around the sports world as it relates to West Virginia. Former WVU baseball great and brother of our co-host Randy Jerko, Jed Jerko, with some news. Greg traded from the San Diego Padres to the St. Louis Cardinals. So outstanding news for Jed. It pains me, my Cub fandom, well known on this show. I hate to see him go and help the Cardinals. Would have rather the Cubs picked him up, but good for Jed to get what again, as much as I hate to say this, the best organization in baseball. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, and again, I mean, he was drafted by the Padres, and he's spent his minor league and major league career with that organization. So I'm sure there's a little bit of sorrow to see that opportunity go. But for Jed, the chance to move from a club that hadn't been 500 to one that competes for World Series titles on an annual basis has got to be great. And it sounds like he's going to get opportunities to play. I'm not sure he's going to be penciled in as an everyday second base starter. It's in talking to Randy, they're calling him sort of a super sub. Pirate fans will compare him to Josh Harrison, guy who could play second one day, short another day, third another day, is in the lineup more often than not, but isn't necessarily a guy who is always slotted into one position each and every day. So good chance for Jed, and certainly moving to, as you said, great organization. Those in Pittsburgh and those of us in North Central West Virginia will get more opportunities to see him. He came into Pittsburgh once with the Padres. I mean, once a year. There was one series.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with the Cardinals in the same division, there'll be multiples, though he could break a few hearts along the way.
Well, good for him. We're happy for Jed, his family getting to go to the St. Louis Cardinals. Another interesting release earlier today, and it has to do with football scheduling. It doesn't necessarily affect West Virginia, but it does affect some schools in the Big 12. Big 12 announced that it was requiring its schools moving forward to schedule one Power 5 opponent in football and not schedule 2 FCS in the same year, which that part of it, as we've discussed earlier, Greg, not a factor because really unless you're caught behind the 8 ball where you have a game drop, as we saw North Carolina do this year, I don't know anybody's playing 2 FCSs, but the one Power 5 is interesting from the standpoint of a couple other schools in the league, not so much West Virginia.
Yeah, certainly Baylor's the one that comes to mind. Is they rarely have played a non-conference game against a Power 5, and if you look at their future schedules, they only have 2 years in the next, I think it's 8 or 9, where they play a Power 5, and that's a home-and-home series that they have with Duke. So I think you look at this, and it is very much targeted to Baylor. They're not the only school within the Big 12 that has avoided Power 5s each and every year, but they're the poster child for this role. As you said, West Virginia will not change their scheduling at all. Mountaineers actually have 2 Power 5 teams on future schedules most each and every year as you schedule out for the next 8 and 9 years. So that's not going to factor into West Virginia at all.
One interesting note there, and it does affect West Virginia in some ways next year because one of the opponents is BYU. And they were not carved out as an exemption to this rule. BYU does not count as a Power 5. We've seen the Big Ten add some schools in there that weren't technically Power 5, but the Big Ten went ahead and grandfathered them in. Big 12 is not doing that at this point with BYU, who West Virginia, of course, plays next season. The Mountaineers also have Missouri on next year's schedule, so it doesn't affect it from that standpoint. I just find it interesting of all the talk around BYU as a potential Big 12 member if the league expands, that the Big 12 felt, no, that's not part of it. Now, maybe they're just counting them as a Big 12 member because they're coming in. But I found that interesting that's a name that comes up. You know me, I am not a fan of that one as you add to the Big 12, but they are not, as of right now, listed as counting towards that requirement.
Some leagues have counted other schools outside the Power 5. Big 12 did, I think it was Cincinnati and
Big 10.
Big 10 and Cincinnati and some others. Notre Dame is the only exemption from a pure Power 5 conference school currently on that Big 12 list.
Just a couple minutes left in this segment before we go to a break, and we'll wait for Mike Neely, Fiesta Bowl Executive Director, to give us a call. But as the Mountaineers are in Madison Square Garden, they're on TV right now, warming up ahead of their game at 7 o'clock against Virginia. Greg, I think we both agree. We talked some last night with Tony about this game. I think this is a really intriguing matchup. I am looking forward to seeing how West Virginia matches up, not only with a team with a totally different style, but one of the better teams in America.
Yeah, top 10 program right now, and it has been there for a couple of years. They're very good. And as you said, then you add in the style differences, a team that likes to, play slow, very methodical, and very good. How does West Virginia's press affect a team like this? I don't know. Often a team like this you would think could handle West Virginia's pressure better than most, but because they haven't seen it, how ultimately is this going to play out?
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting from an offensive standpoint with West Virginia, that famous pack line defense that Tony Bennett likes to play for Virginia, meaning basically just pack it in without getting too deep in the terminology here. That's going to be the key for West Virginia is can it score tonight against Virginia? They've been so reliant on Devin Williams inside to make things happen. It sounds as if when we're talking to Tony about tonight's game, others are going to have to step up if West Virginia is going to win this game tonight.
Yeah, certainly. You're going to have to hit perimeter shots against that defense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, time to get our first break in. When we come back, Mike Neely, Fiesta Bowl Executive Director, joins us, gives us all the scoop on the Cactus Bowl coming up January 2nd. Stay with us. We're back after this.
West Virginia has balanced its budget on the back of the coal industry ever since we became a state 150 years ago. Historically, the coal industry and coal-fired electric utilities have accounted for over 60% of all business taxes, while high-energy wages contribute a disproportionate share of income taxes, and coal severance dollars sustain important programs in all counties. All told, the industry infuses over $26 billion to our state's economy. Coal alone has paid down nearly $1 billion of the state's workers' compensation debt. Consequently, all state businesses have experienced major reductions in workers' comp benefits. The coal industry's always supported our people and our economy, but it's under attack from the Obama administration and the EPA. It's fighting to survive. Coal taxes in West Virginia are higher than our surrounding states. We're losing coal markets to our neighbors. Let's get our mines and coal miners working again. Support a reduced tax rate for mining, paid for by West Virginia Coal Association.
As a cyclist, we make choices. We choose which motorcycle manufacturer to buy from. We choose what type of motorcycle we ride. We even choose where and when to ride. We also choose to ride straight, alcohol and drug-free. Alcohol is involved in 50% of motorcycle fatalities in West Virginia. That's 1 in 2 drivers who die each year. Don't become a statistic. Ride straight, alcohol and drug-free. Presented by the West Virginia Department of Transportation, Governor's Highway Safety and Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Program.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When something is missing from the picture, your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn what they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire, so qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads. That's why lawmakers are stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because of drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The cheap Black Friday blockbuster sales. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified car lessees and vehicles get a low-mileage lease in 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
Welcome back in. Northside Automotive, Statewide Sportsline, Brad Howe, along with the coach, Greg Hunter. Tuesday, December 8th edition. A quick reminder, the Cockaigne Farmhouse in Moundsville will be open for its holiday celebration December 12th through the 14th. The tour will feature period Christmas decorations. And Hunter, listen up, traditional cookies from 1860, 1890, and 1925. Don't miss this interactive, family-friendly, and tasty event. Real celebrations. You'll find it here, wild, wonderful, West Virginia. We're delighted now to be joined by the executive director of the Fiesta Bowl, Mike Neely. Mike, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. Nice to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. Great to talk to you. So here's how I'd like to start this. I'm just going to open the floor to you. You tell everybody listening here across the state of West Virginia, make your pitch to travel out to take a look at the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl coming up on January 2nd.
Well, hopefully that's an easy start, and you want to come out and watch your Mountaineers because they're coming out this way. That's the best pitch, isn't it?
That's the best pitch. But as good as that is, you're in a wonderful area there in Phoenix. You've got some fantastic weather, although I have to say it's very warm right here in West Virginia. But we'll trade your weather for ours any day. So there's more around this game than just watching the Mountaineers, certainly.
Well, that's right. And if you play the odds, I think our temperature probably will be exceeding that in West Virginia around that time. And I'm originally from the north myself, so I've come to appreciate the weather down here, and that is certainly something that people are going to get. I know the team's been down here in the past a couple times and had some good showings, and so I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that have been down here. They've experienced that, so they know what we're talking about. But there's not much of a better place to be in early January than right here in the Phoenix area. If you're a fan of everything from golfing to hiking to, you could take a short trip up to the Grand Canyon. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do here. And then to top it all off, you're going to have a great matchup and watch your Mountaineers play a game in Chase Field. This is we're returning to our original home there for a game, and we're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to hosting the Mountaineers.
Mike, talk about the field itself, because that is, obviously unusual, a place that's normally used for just baseball. You've played there in the past, but you went over to Sun Devil Stadium for a while, now back at Chase Field. Sort of why the changes? What are the advantages of playing in downtown Phoenix at a baseball stadium?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It goes back to, our Fiesta Bowl was being played at ASU, and so at the time, the Insight Bowl was played at Chase Field, and I think probably sometimes the first thought of fitting a football game into a baseball field might not look too well, but it was a great setup. And now with the Fiesta Bowl out at the newer stadium, at the University of Phoenix Stadium where our Cardinals play, the Cactus Bowl had been played at ASU. You are right, and the ASU group are doing some renovations to their facility, so. One of our options was to go back to Chase Field. I looked into it. I have to say, I was not part of the organization back when we were playing at Chase Field, so I initially had some reservations. But heck, taking a look at the historically and some of the pictures and the setup, and it's actually a terrific setup. It's going to be a nice version of about a 40,000 max setup, but very intimate. We have some seats some temporary seats that come in, so it's really tight on the one sideline, and that's where a lot of the seats that West Virginia has access to through your school are going to be in those great seats. And then we kind of set it up down the third base line, and so the baseball seating and the overhang of the second level comes in, and it's really actually pretty tight and some great suites and everything. So it ends up being a wonderful place to watch a game.
We're talking with Mike Neely, Fiesta Bowl Executive Director, who also is in charge of the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, which West Virginia, of course, will be playing in January 2nd against Arizona State. Mike, tell us a little bit about the matchup. You have to be thrilled. You've got Arizona State that's just right down the road, certainly a lot of Sun Devil fans in that area. And then you mentioned earlier West Virginia has been out there and certainly enjoyed the experience with your Fiesta Bowl. And I have to say, unsolicited plug by you, I was part of the West Virginia athletic staff for the Fiesta Bowl, and I count that as one of my very best experiences. You all do a wonderful job putting on the event, but talk to us a little bit about the matchup that you have in this game.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying. I think it was 08. I think the last time you guys were out here for the Fiesta Bowl.
07 season, 08 bowl in January.
Yep, exactly.
Right, exactly. And what you experienced out there for the Fiesta Bowl, we are the same organization, and so our hospitality and what the teams find coming out here for both games, we believe it's a second to none experience, certainly for the organizations and the teams, and that's what we pride ourselves on. But for the fans to come out, and they're going to get the same treatment. The hospitality here with the city and downtown is very excited about having this game again downtown, and they've rolled out the red carpet. Our downtown has changed dramatically over the last handful of years, and there's a whole bunch of things that have been going on down there, and some excitement. That particular day itself, because it's the close proximity to our Fiesta Bowl timing. The Fiesta Bowl we played the day before, but we have our major parade the day of the Cactus Bowl. So pretty close proximity to where this game will be played at Chase Field. There's about 100,000 plus people that are going to see a top-notch parade that'll roll down towards the downtown. And if you were coming in to do some things besides all the stuff that you can do in the sun and fun, you can see a top-notch parade, and they have that roll right into some pregame parties, which I think are fabulous, and then roll into a great game.
Mike, as Brad said, both he and I have been out to Phoenix for various events with West Virginia over the years, so we know it's a very large area. But still, you got Ohio State and Notre Dame coming out for the Fiesta Bowl, West Virginia, Arizona State the day after. Hotel situations, flights, those type of things that fans who are coming out are going to need to know. Anything that they should know in going into this? Well,
I'll tell you, this is a resort town. So there is plenty of hotel spaces, and the schools will have blocks. And I don't think there's going to be an issue of finding a place to stay and finding kind of A to Z of places to stay. I mean, everything down to this is the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, so you can go to the discount side from Motel 6s that are around the area to some of the fabulous resorts, and you'll be able to find a place to your liking for sure.
Mike, with that said, if you're advising fans, because again, the Chase Field, sort of the downtown area, the University of Phoenix Stadium where the Fiesta Bowl is going to be played is more west. So where would you look proximity if you wanted to stay close to the field?
Well, you certainly can look downtown at some downtown properties, but then if you're looking at Scottsdale, Tempe, those are some cities that offer some properties, and quite frankly, the city's a pretty easy city to get around, and you're really not too far away. If you're in the valley, you're going to be within range of getting to this game. And if you're a huge football fan, you could also obviously catch the Fiesta Bowl game as well. Now, tickets on both sides are becoming thinner, as you can imagine. And maybe another plug for the Mountaineers there. Of course, being here with ASU. There's a lot of late ASU locals certainly in the area. So Mountaineers, get out there and show some numbers and see if we can take back some of the territory.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you in terms of ticket sales. Have you gotten any reports from Arizona State? I would imagine, basically the hometown team, they're selling a lot. Is their allotment gone yet?
I've not had notification that their allotment is gone, but I know they picked up a few extra in one of the sections. And so I know they're getting thinner. So I expect them to probably go through their allotment.
Okay, last question. Both Brad and I are Midwest guys. That accent, Wisconsin or Minnesota? Where are you from?
Very astute. It is a Minnesota accent. I must have said a couple of those words you just can't escape from.
Well, I grew up in Wisconsin, or was born in Wisconsin. I recognize that. So.
All right. Well,
very good.
Then you must be a good person.
Very good, Mike. Last thing, and we'll let you run. If West Virginia fans want some more information, what's the best way for them to find out about the area and the bowl?
Sure. Well, you can certainly go to any of the. Let's start with the fiestabowl.org. You can get to our website, and that can direct you accordingly with tickets. Of course, I know that. I think the school would appreciate people going to the Mountaineer box office to get your tickets first. But if you don't find something there that you want, we might have something available. So you could go to our fiestabowl.org website, and that will have information related to other accommodations, amenities, and if you just go look for general tourism information for Arizona, there's a lot of things. As I said, we're kind of that home of a lot of vacation land and a lot of things to do here.
Absolutely.
So the parade, any other major activity that fans will be interested in, pregame tailgate type situation, anything like that?
Absolutely. There's a pregame party, which we have. It's called the Oasis, and local sponsor Cox Cable Communications. So the Cox Oasis Party, and that's presented by a local Federal Credit Union Desert Schools, and that is a great pre-party. It has some entertainment and food and drink, and that's the proximity is right next to the stadium. So, and that's also right downtown. So there's a lot of that to find. Things to do, and I tell you, you're not going to be limited to have something to do, and including bring your golf clubs, because there's more golf courses down here than you can imagine, and great courses. So a lot to be looking forward to.
All right, good stuff, Mike. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Keep our number on hand, and we'll talk again as we get a little bit closer to the bowl to get an update on all the planning. Thank you for taking some time for us tonight.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right, there he is, Mike Neely, Fiesta Bowl Executive Director. And again, I can vouch for the way that group puts on events. They are absolutely fantastic. Coming up on a break, but before we do, I see we've got Alan Taylor on the line. Let's get a quick look from Alan Taylor, who's live in New York City. I assume, AT, you're inside the Garden as we speak?
That is correct, man. Sorry I couldn't grab you a little bit after 6, but here now, the fans starting to roll in. A ton of Maryland people outside, man. They're definitely representing. We'll have to see what kind of contingent West Virginia brings once we get closer to tip.
So early returns, you're seeing more Maryland fans than anybody else. I would think Connecticut will roll in here pretty soon with a big group of their fans once the first game gets underway.
Yeah, it's like a reunion for UConn and WVU here. Obviously, Huggins has a desire to still pull a recruit out of this neck of the woods every now and then, and likes to have a presence in the city. And being in the Big 12 doesn't make that easy, so tries to get a high-profile non-conference game in here as often as he can.
I trust that you're as intrigued as Greg and I are about this game, not just from a standpoint this is clearly the best team West Virginia has played, but it's the best non-conference game the Mountaineers will play. But the contrasting styles of this should make this a really interesting game tonight for both teams.
It's perfect for West Virginia because they need to face a team that's capable of slowing them down, a team that grinds and can execute, and that is Virginia all day. This is the kind of matchup you might see in a second-round NCAA tournament game, and you got to know how you can handle that. And given West Virginia's sort of struggles at the point guard situation and in the half court overall, it's going to be interesting to see how they cope with Virginia, whether or not London Francis is on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. All right, brother. We appreciate you jumping on here with us for just a few minutes. We know you got the game to go cover. Tips off here in about a half an hour. West Virginia and Virginia. Enjoy the time in the city, and we'll catch up with you when you return.
All right, buddy. You got to take care.
All right, thanks. There he is, Alan Taylor. Keep up with him at the website, wvmetronews.com. Time to get a break in. When we come back, former Mountaineer great, now ESPN analyst Anthony Becht joins us. Stay with us. We're back after this.
Someday, we'll go to the edge of the galaxy. But for now, you can go to the ends of the earth in a Jeep brand SUV. Find your adventure in the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. Catch a show of shooting stars underneath the night sky in the Jeep Cherokee, the 2015 four-wheeler of the year. And go far, far away in the Jeep Renegade with up to 31 mpg highway. Hurry into the Jeep year-end blockbuster sales event. Going on now.
Star Wars The Force Awakens, December 18th, rated PG-13.
Well-qualified lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 for $279 a month for 36 months with $24.99 due at signing. Tax, title, and license extra. EPA estimate, 1.4-liter engine with manual transmission. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Ally. 20-cent charge for each mile over 30,000. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 1/4/16. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi with a question. What can a video do for you? Well, if you're in business or part of an organization, let me tell you what videos have done for our clients at Pikewood Creative. Our commercials have generated millions of dollars in new business. Our long-form videos have helped capital campaigns raise tens of millions of dollars. That's what a video can do for you. If you have a need, then visit us at pikewoodcreative.com. That's Pikewood Creative.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When something makes sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
Come with me now. Come with me now.
We're back. Northside Automotive, Statewide Sportsline. Brad Howe, Greg Hunter with you. Tuesday edition, December 8th. Quick reminder, the Cockaigne Farmhouse in Moundsville will be open for its holiday celebration December 12th through the 14th. The tour will feature period Christmas decorations and traditional cookies. Hunter, traditional cookies, 1860 from 1890 and 1925. Don't miss this interactive, family-friendly, and tasty event. Real celebrations. You'll find it here, wild, wonderful West Virginia. Let's go to the phones where we're pleased, as always, to be joined by former Mountaineer great, current ESPN analyst, among other things. Greg, I don't want to box him in just to ESPN. He does all kinds of things. Our guy Anthony Beck joins us now. Anthony, welcome to the program.
I'm doing great, guys. Good to be on.
Thanks for taking some time for us. Got a bunch of ground to cover with you, so let's start with, first of all, the college football playoffs. You like the 4 teams that are in. Any objections to any of them?
No, I think they got it right. You know, I think their job was easy. I mean, I think as the day grew on for me on the conference championship Saturday, you know, the fact that Oklahoma and a Big 12 team were sitting at home and not playing that day was a little uneasy for me. But you know, I think that they've played well enough to represent the conference, but I still believe that the Big 12 has to figure something out and to get some type of conference championship moving forward.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Anthony. Do you think that is a huge detriment in that last weekend that they're not playing a major game where everybody else has all those eyeballs?
I think so, because I'm a very big fan of Iowa and what they did this year. And to tell me that they ran the table in the regular season and then they actually get a bonus game to play in a conference championship and lose, you know, with a guy reaching his arm out at the end of the game where it could have went any direction. To me, they're just as good as any team in the country with one loss. So it's always hard to shuffle how you get teams that have one loss and how you move them in and who's playing well, who's playing not. To me, Iowa's still playing well with a loss, even in that game. So I accept the fact that they're 5, but you can't tell me for sure that they are much better than an Oklahoma team who lost the game against Texas way back early in the season when Iowa went out and won every game they had to win to get to the championship.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We're joined by Anthony Beck. That's a tough one because I probably would have debated you most of the year with Iowa. They had a big win over Northwestern, which turned out to be a really good win. They were being disrespected by a lot of people, probably me included. I just wasn't sold on how good they were. And you came on Saturday, our game day show, really talked them up. And you were right, man. I was impressed Saturday. They went toe-to-toe with that Michigan State team. I also think, doesn't this lead us? I mean, can't we agree that we're probably headed to 8 teams sooner or later just for these exact situations, that really eliminates a lot of the doubt in most years if you have 8 teams in?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I'm a big fan of 8. I can live with it. The problem is when you get to like 7 and 8, are those teams really worthy? I could see, in Iowa or, potentially a Stanford being upset, but Stanford lost 2 games. And, for me, it's hard to go undefeated. We very rarely have teams that do that. So those guys are going to be there. But those one-loss teams, especially if it comes down to a conference championship game, you kind of feel bad for because I feel like they should be in the mix. So I don't know if I'm all in on 8, but I like to find a way to get other teams in. But right now I'll live with 4 because I think at the end of the day, to get 4 teams to play each other to get to the best 2, it's probably a lot better than just saying this team and this team are the last 2 teams at the end of the regular season and they'll play.
Okay, so who are the best 2 and then who is the best 1?
That's a great question. I think on neutral sites things change a bit. I don't know how much I'm all in on Oklahoma and Alabama in the big picture as far as, Clemson. I think Clemson, to me, is the best complete team. They have the best quarterback, in my opinion, that can change the game. First with his arm, but deadly with his legs. And, he plays such a threatening position for them, and their defense to me is as good or if not better than any team left in the 4. So I like Clemson at 1. I think they're the team to me that's going to be in the championship game. And Alabama, Michigan State, it's tough. I feel like you look at these 2 teams, and I've had Michigan State twice. I thought for sure if Connor Cook was 100% completely healthy, I think that would change my opinion a bit. I feel like he's just not healthy enough when I watch that Iowa game now. He gets some time to get himself right, but if he's got some kind of a tear or something, that's something that's going to linger. It's not going to really get better till after the season. So I'm going to have Alabama, Clemson moving into the championship game. And, to me, I think Clemson wins. To me, they're the best team. Again, anything can happen, but I feel like Coker, to me, is a guy that's kind of on the verge of making, the big mistake. And it's not, they can't just run their way all the way through. I feel like the quarterback position is going to be important, is going to have to make some plays. He's done it. He did it against Florida, against a very good defense. But I thought those kind of passes and those balls they completed were easily playable balls for the defense. They just went through and they made them. So I like Clemson overall as taking it all the way to the end.
We're talking with Anthony Becht, and speaking of Clemson, you referenced their great quarterback Deshaun Watson here just a second ago. He's included in the 3 Heisman finalists. That announcement came down yesterday. Derrick Henry, Alabama; Christian McCaffrey, Stanford; Deshaun Watson, Clemson are your 3 finalists going to New York. Good choices. Would you add somebody in there? Would you have liked to seen somebody go that was not included?
You know what? I would really wish they had brought Keenan Reynolds there. One for what he stands for, within a program of, Armed Forces and the Navy program. His career has been obviously understated because of the fact that they're never on TV unless they're playing Notre Dame. So, I just think he had a fabulous college career, and he had a huge season this year. And anybody that has the all-time touchdown record to me in college. I mean, you're talking about a lot of players over the years. I feel like that person should be there. And it would have been cool to see them fly him in after the game, and not just for that, but he deserves it. I think he deserves to be there. It's hard to win games at Navy, guys. I mean, if you go 8-3 or 7-4, that's an accomplishment, in my opinion. I mean, you're not recruiting 4- or 5-star kids. You're recruiting kids to come there for a different reason. And to do what he's done, be a 4-year starter, it's impressive. So, you got Dalvin Cooks out there, all different other players that have done some great things. But, who's the most important player on their team? And I think they got it right with the 3 guys that are there.
Anthony, a lot of other interesting bowl games besides just the 2 semifinal games that everybody's going to be paying attention to. Any that really intrigue you? I guess you're working about half of them, it sounds like.
Well, hey, Anthony, why don't you start there? Tell us which games you're working first, then we'll piggyback from there on some other ones maybe that you're not working.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I got here. So December 19th, I have the Camellia Bowl, which is Appalachian State, and Ohio. Then I'll be traveling close to home. I'll be at the St. Pete Bowl. I'll have the other state's team, Marshall versus UConn. And then on the 30th, I will be in Birmingham for Auburn, Memphis. And then I'll travel back to Florida on January 1st, and I'll have Florida, Michigan at the Buffalo Wild Wing Citrus Bowl, which I'll be ESPN radio for that game. So the first game, 3 games I'll be TV, and I'll have a radio game in the last one.
That's a great one. Those will be some fun games, especially that last one. How does that work from your standpoint? Give me a behind the scenes look here real quick. Preparation wise, are you flying in to see any of those coaches ahead of time? You go down a couple days before each of those games. How's that work for you?
Well, the 2 Florida games, is obviously I have access to, kind of getting a little closer. I'm very close with the staff at Marshall. I know Coach Diaco at UConn. So, I'll be able to get, those guys, meet them prior to the game. And, most of the other games will be conference calls. It's different when you go during the year because if you fly in Thursday night, you meet with the coaches Friday. But with the bowl schedules and different things going on, you don't have that access. So a lot of those 2 other games that I'll have in Alabama, there'll be conference calls. So again, I've seen a lot of these teams, and I had Ohio last year. I've had Marshall, Michigan. I had Florida this year, so I'm familiar with some of them. But Appalachian State, a team like that, I have to do a little more studying for. Obviously, they've had a very good program over the last several years, so it'll be good. I started cranking out some stuff today. Just kind of one of my former teammates with the Jets is the color radio for Appalachian State, and I just talked to him a little bit, got some background on the team, and just kind of start from there before I start watching the tape. I want to know the guys a little bit, and then as I go into the tape, I can kind of make my assessment on the football stuff from there.
So obviously from the Marshall end, obviously Doc was an assistant at least for part of the time while you were at West Virginia, and Billy Legg was the offensive coordinator, right, for the Mountaineers, at least in your later years?
Yeah. So I've seen Doc. I don't stay in touch with Doc much. I probably talk to Coach Legg once every couple weeks, so I'm pretty close to him. I've just been tight with him. He comes down here and recruits. We'll get together once a year and have some dinner and break some bread, and we'll talk. And Bill's a guy. I'm a fan of Bill. I think Bill's done a lot of good things at the offensive coordinator position at Marshall to, really get a chance somewhere else and be a head coach somewhere. So if not that, maybe move up to the next level and potentially be a coordinator at a next level program. So I'm a big promoter of what he's done. And obviously he was there at West Virginia, like you said, when I played, and he's a guy that just gets it to me, understands this age's players, and he's definitely developed his game from a play caller to some of the mix of the old school football and some of that spread that you see now out there.
Our guest is Anthony Becht. Along those lines, let's hit a little bit on this coaching carousel, because this was a weird year. You have an interesting perspective. You just mentioned you're in contact with a bunch of coaches. You're around them on a weekly basis as you go to do these games. It was an odd year this year from a bunch of different standpoints, and maybe this is the new norm. But not only did we have a bunch of job openings, but I was just simply amazed at how many of those job openings actually were closed and set before really the regular season ended. Were you a little surprised how it shook out this year?
I'd say the only one where I was kind of, shaking my head was Spurrier, because he actually left. I mean, a lot of these guys that said they were going to go a different direction or retire, whatever they wanted to do, they finished out the seasons. I think just like anything, guys, when one big name team does something, it's the same thing in the NFL, and someone sets the standard and fires somebody, it kind of trickles down and gives everybody the okay to kind of get their process going. And there is going to be a lot of turnover. There's some coaches that I feel like that are in good situations. That there's some coaches I don't agree with the firings, and there's some coaches that are waiting for an opportunity that I don't think are getting their due justice in the process of interviews. So, I think that the biggest thing that I see, and I was kind of in with someone tight within the interview, the actual hiring process of Miami, is they hired one of these search firms, and quite honestly, to me, it's probably the biggest waste of money I've ever seen, and I'm not quite sure what schools are getting out of that, except the fact that ADs are getting a list of names that someone's manufacturing and saying, look, these guys are good candidates. And, to me, I just feel like there's an agenda with that. And if you're going to hire a new coach, I think Miami actually did a nice job in what they did. They had the athletic director, they had some school officials, and they brought in 2 former players, prominent guys, to be part of that process because, a lot of these ADs and a lot of these school officials, they don't know football, and not per se to disrespect the game, but just what kind of schemes, the things that they're going to do, how they're going to bring their ways to the school, and if it's the fit. And sometimes when you have these coaching firms that come in and bring these guys in, you're kind of all enchanted by the different things and these booklets and the things that they show, but really you're not asking the right questions and you get kind of steered a different way. So I think that's the biggest thing I'd say for any school looking for a new head coach is get a team together, do your own homework, and don't hire outside third parties that potentially could have agendas in getting your next coach to lead your team.
So that said, give me a couple hires that maybe you like and a couple you don't.
Well, I like Justin Fuente. I think he's a nice hire for Virginia Tech. I think he's a very smart offensive mind, and he's a coach that can develop a quarterback. I called a game for them when he came into a program that was pretty bad. I mean, they had a lot of bad things going on there, and he brought a kid in, a quarterback, and started him right away as a redshirt freshman, and I saw him develop, and now he got people talking about him being a first-round quarterback in the draft this year in Paxton Lynch. So he's a guy that I think, when you're talking about building something, I think he understands from the worst part of it and building that program up. I think guys out there like Matt Rule, who obviously decided to stay at Temple, I think he still should be in the mix for a lot of opportunities, even though he has an extension. I know he's tied in with Philly and with Temple, and he's from that area and has that deep connection with them. But I truly believe he's one of those younger coaches that has fire, has energy, brings a bit of that pro style to it. But he's a very good recruiter, and he's done a fantastic job at Temple. And we've seen coaches come out of Temple that had success leave. So I'm glad to see his loyalty. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I think he's still a guy out there. On the flip side, a guy like Ruffin McNeil over at East Carolina, I look at him as a coach. How does this guy get fired? I mean, you talk about a guy that came off a fantastic season last year, loses arguably the 2 best wide receiver and quarterback the program's ever had. Their incumbent quarterback gets knocked out before the season even starts, and you're still able to go out there and get through a season. And to me, he really what kind of personified East Carolina football. They have a great fan base. I did a couple games out there, and he's really a great man. And to me, for a guy like that to get fired, I thought it was a little bit of a surprise, and I was disappointed with that. So, we'll see what happens if they bring somebody in that's good for the program. But you got to scratch your head sometimes. Another guy, Mark Richt, this guy's, when I did their game, Georgia Tech, he just looked like he was, just kind of just ready to take a vacation. I mean, the guy just looked kind of down and somber about the whole situation. And those are things, you look at a guy that's built a program, kept it there in the mix every single season. Those things are hard to do. There's only one national champion, guys, every single year. After that, it's kind of like, what do you want as a program? Do you want national championships? Do you want conference championships? Do you want winning seasons every year? You can't have the first thing every single season. It's just impossible. It's only one team. So you got to make sure you're headed in the right direction, because we're still, at the end of the day, we're trying to win games, but we're still trying to build young men and move them forward in life too. So I know that there's a part of it that's a business side of it, but if you got good people in place that kids trust and they're loyal to the program and they're good recruiters and they do the right things, those are the kind of people you want around your program.
Well said, my friend. We'll leave it there. We'll let you go, and we'll try and hook up with you again before you get cranking with your 4 bowl games. Thank you, as always, for taking time. You're always generous with coming on with us.
You got it, guys. Take care.
All right, we'll talk soon. There he is, Anthony Becht, former great Mountaineer player, now ESPN analyst, among other things. We didn't get into his HSN. He also does some Home Shopping Network, does some Tampa Bay Buccaneers pre- and post-game work. My man hustles and he's outstanding. So time for a final break. When we come back, we'll put a wrap on the show. Stay with us. We're back after this.
All Medicare eligible individuals. It's time for open enrollment. Take advantage of the health plan's Medicare plans with benefits such as Silver Sneakers gym membership, an extensive list of doctors and hospitals. Contact us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 1-877-847-7915 or visit healthplan.org/Medicare. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, copayments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits and/or copayments coinsurance may change on January 1 of each year.
Come on, man. We're going to be late. We need to leave.
Yeah, we need to hurry. Let's go.
Please slow down. You are entering a work zone.
Oh, man. They're working on the road. We're not going to make it.
You are approaching a work zone. Please slow down.
What is that?
It's just the GPS. Don't pay attention to it.
Slow down, slow down, slow down.
When you speed in a work zone, you are endangering your life and the lives of others. Slow down. It's the law.
Be a smart driver. Don't speed in work zones.
This safety message from the West Virginia Department of Transportation Division of Highways, saving one life at a time.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why lawmakers are stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
Final segment, Northside Automotive, Statewide Sportsline. Brad Howe, Greg Hunter along with you. Coming up here in just a few minutes, West Virginia tipping off against Virginia in Madison Square Garden as part of the Jimmy V Classic. That will be game number 1. Coming up in the second game, Maryland and Connecticut. So, Greg, 2 really good games there, and we've been saying it here for a couple days and certainly all day today. Really looking forward to this matchup. One interesting injury note, Virginia looks like they'll have their point guard back this evening, which was thought to be the case. He was out warming up right now. The question will just be how effective will he be coming off an appendectomy that he just had?
Yeah, it's certainly obviously a key factor against West Virginia's press. I mean, he's very, very good, but you know, as you said, how effective will he be? His backups are there is depth on this Virginia squad, and there are some backups who are capable, but obviously no one as good as he. So it should be interesting. Amazing. I didn't realize this until I just looked at some of the game notes from Virginia. 31 years since these two programs had last played, and I remember this game just because I'm old. It was an NIT game in 1985 as West Virginia lost 56-55. Holman Harley, Dale Blaney, Renardo Brown, Daryl Pinckney, Lester Rowe were West Virginia's starting 5 in that game. So Terry Holland was the coach for the Cavs at that point. Jimmy Miller, a West Virginia native, also played for UVA.
This should be an interesting environment, too, because from what you're hearing, Ticket sales are brisk and sold out. We heard from Alan Taylor so far. He's seeing mostly Maryland fans. I know that will pick up from all those years we spent in the Garden. You know, Connecticut's going to hop on the train and travel with their fans down there. I would think West Virginia will have a nice contingent. So it'll be interesting to watch this. So, again, you're not only getting a great matchup on the floor, but this should provide an outstanding early season environment, which sometimes in these matchups and classics, you get the nice matchup on the floor, but you don't always get the environment to go with it.
Yeah, you're right, because sometimes these neutral sites, if you're, in a ballroom in the Bahamas or whatever, it just doesn't feel like a big-time atmosphere. This will. It's at the Garden, and certainly ESPN's blowing this thing all out, right? I mean,
yes,
they got their stage at center court right now. They've been pubbing this for the last hour. This is the biggest show on TV for sports this evening, and certainly West Virginia is going to benefit greatly one way or the other, but obviously a victory will put West Virginia very much in the minds of all the poll voters out there in an early season game.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the basketball season and when does it start? Does it start now? Does it really start in January? When do people start getting dialed in to watch it? I think this is one of those games that if West Virginia comes out, and particularly, as you just said, if this team comes out and gets a win tonight, this will be one that will jumpstart the buzz around this basketball program, rising to number 14 in the polls. You come out and beat a top 10, that thing will start to jump a little bit around basketball. So that's coming up here on ESPN in just a few minutes when we go off the air. And that's going to do it for us tonight. If you missed any part of the show, remember, you can catch the podcast on iTunes or visit our website, wvmetronews.com, and download tonight's show. Special thanks to Alan Taylor for chiming in live from New York City, Anthony Becht, and Mike Neely, Executive Director of the Fiesta Bowl Committee, for joining us. Special thanks Joe Nelson on the video, J.R. Falls on the phones tonight. For Greg Hunter, I'm Brad Howell. Thanks for listening. We're out.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline has been an exclusive presentation of the Metro News Radio Network. Copyright 2015. All rights reserved.